Season 1 of Game of Thrones had to do a lot of things. It had to set up the world of Westeros, a land full of different houses, people, cities, politics, all with complex, intertwined histories. It had to do all of this and make it coherent, engaging, and interesting. And so what you find is that there are a lot of scenes that are just people sitting in a room talking to each other about things. And that's why it's so good. Because to do this well, you have to rely on good characters, people who feel real, interacting with other people who feel real, with good writing and good acting. Today we're going to be looking at one of my favourite scenes in Game of Thrones where people sit around and talk. And it's Robert Baratheon, Sir Barristan Selmy, and Jaime Lannister telling war stories. Don't forget to like the video, guys, if you're enjoying, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps. We don't get loads of Robert Baratheon. He dies in episode 7 of season 1, but nonetheless his character is of extreme importance. Not only does a lot of the history that precedes the start of this show rest upon him, his rebellion, his drive to fight the Targaryens for his love, Lyanna Stark, but he also serves as a drive for the events of the show, getting Ned to come to King's Landing, pushing the assassination of Daenerys, and eventually his death sets into motion a whole host of things that influence the world of Westeros going forward. He is a very important character. However, he is a broken man, a man who has claimed the throne, something many desire, and yet is very unhappy. The king who hates to be king. And I think that this scene does an amazing job of showing his resentment for where he is now and who he has become. And so we join him in his quarters with Sir Barristan.
Time, but I still remember every face. You remember your first?
Robert starts by asking the Kingsguard if he remembers his first kill.
Of course, Your Grace.
Who was it?
That's Hiroshi. Never learnt the name.
How do you do it?
Lance through the heart.
Quick one.
Sir Barristan is a noble, honourable man, a skilled fighter. He does not relish in the theatre of death and war, so his answer reflects that, simple and to the point, which then hugely contrasts with Robert's response.
Lucky for you. Mine was some Tarly boy at the Battle of Summerhall. My horse took an arrow, so I was on foot, slogging through the mud. He came running at me, this dumb, high-born lad, thinking he could end the rebellion with a single swing of his sword. I knocked him down with the hammer. God, I was strong then. Caved in his breastplate. Probably shattered every rib he had.
There is a dramaticism here. Robert playing into the fantasy of this story, visceral, slow, detailed, as if he's reliving it in his head there and then. And to begin with, we see him sort of relishing in the truth of the man that he was, the strong and fearsome warrior, physically at his prime, swinging around a warhammer with power.
Stood over him, hammer in the air. Right before I brought it down, he shouted, "Wait! Wait!"
His amusement at this shows a grandeur, a cockiness, stupid little boy trying to plead with him. But then he brings it down a level.
They never tell you how they all shit themselves. They don't put that part in the songs. Stupid boy. Now the Tarleys bend the knee like everyone else. He could have lingered on the edge of the battle with the smart boys, and today his wife would be making him miserable, his sons would be ingrates, and he'd be waking 3 times in the night to piss into a bowl of wine.
And we see a tinge of regret, a bit of trauma of what happened. Because this first kill symbolised a new path that Robert would take. This kill for Robert is the start of that rebellion, possibly the start of the rebellion becoming real, the consequences solidifying. I don't think that in that moment Robert wanted to kill that boy, but it was a case of kill or be killed, and he had a greater goal. But in hindsight, now that he looks back upon it, he wishes he didn't have to. He goes on to say what the kid could have become, the life that boy would have had. It gives the impression that this is not the first time he's thought about this. It's a moment he replays in his mind again and again, wondering what could have been different. And that extends into himself as well, comparing the man that he was and the man he is now. The strong and fearless leader becoming the drunken, gluttonous, angry king, devoid of love and meaning.
What are you doing?
It's empty, Your Grace.
What do you mean it's empty?
There's no more wine.
Is that what empty means? So get more.
And here we see how far this man has fallen, sat here screaming at this poor servant boy to fill up his cup of wine. And then he brings in Jaime Lannister.
Must wound your pride, now standing out there like a glorified sentry. Jaime Lannister, son of the mighty Tywin.
Interesting how this line here is ironic, berating Jaime for what he has become, how far Jaime has fallen. You could almost flip it around, say it about Robert himself. It must wound your pride sitting there, nothing but a drunk, Robert Baratheon, son of Steffon. It's as if he's trying to disguise his own trauma, his own view of himself onto someone else.
Forced to mind the door while your king eats and drinks and shits and fucks.
You can see the resentment in Jaime's face. Let's not forget that Robert is talking about sleeping with Cersei here, the person that Jaime loves. He struggles to look the man in the eye.
So come on, we're telling war stories. Who was your first kill, not counting old men?
And then he introduces Jaime into the conversation, not forgetting to get in a dig about how Jaime killed the last king. It's a reminder of how much this title haunts Jaime and how little respect he now has from the whole realm, a decision that changed his life. But despite this, we see a beautiful interaction between Jaime and Sir Barristan.
One of the outlaws in the Brotherhood.
I was there that day. You were only a squire, 16 years old.
Sir Barristan remembers Jaime's first kill. There is a respect in his tone. He was impressed. He admires that Jaime was young at the time, a feat worth being proud of.
You killed Sam and Toyin with the counter riposte. Best move I ever saw.
And Jaime replies with more praise. Two men admiring each other's fighting prowess.
Good fighter, Toyin. But he lacked stamina.
Sir Barristan shows a sense of honour here, not berating or revelling in that kill, acknowledging his opponent's strengths, but highlighting his weakness. A very technical analysis, not surprising coming from one of the best swordsmen in the realm. It is just a beautiful and honest moment between these two characters.
You're outlaw. Any last words?
And then Robert comes back in, trying to get Jaime to relish in the story just like he did. I think that we now see why Robert is doing this, why he's asking this question. I think he needs to feel like he isn't alone. It's not just him that is haunted by his first kill, haunted by each detail of the moment that he took his first life. It's as if he's trying to force Jaime to deliver his own monologue so that he can validate himself, validate how he feels.
Any last words?
I cut his head off, so now.
I love how this snarky and cocky response gets a little giggle from Sir Barristan, a nice little human moment as Jaime looks over with a smile on his face. But then Robert asks a question that cuts deep to the core.
What about Aerys Targaryen? What did the Mad King say when you stabbed him in the back? I never asked. Did he call you a traitor? Did he plead for a reprieve?
And you can see Jaime's face sink. His eyes look empty. There's a tension in his jaw. And now his answer is full of that trauma that Robert was looking for.
He said the same thing he'd been saying for hours. Burn them all.
And Robert sees the genuineness here in Jaime's response. As the shot lingers on Robert's face, sitting there in the silence, you can see a realization dawn on him. His mouth agape as he can't find any words to say, because in this moment he understands what Jaime did and why he did it. I think in this moment he believes him.
If that's all, Your Grace.
And so Jaime heads out the door, leaving the two men behind in a deafening silence. Just a beautifully written scene, a beautifully acted scene, the characters feeling honest and raw and real. And this scene really pulls back the layers and shows us an extremely vulnerable side of the king, and through it we really get a sense of how unhappy he really is. Being king is not what Robert wanted. It's not why he did what he did. It's not why the rebellion rose up. It was for Lyanna Stark, the woman he loved. And now he sits on the Iron Throne, enjoying all the wealth that he has at his disposal, whilst also plunging the crown into some serious debt. Drinking, eating, but none of it matters because he doesn't have Lyanna, which makes all of that trauma that he had to go through to get here even worse. In this scene, Robert says this line.
Yes, it's been a long time, but I still remember every face.
Showing how much all of these deaths play on his mind. He remembers every single face. But then a few episodes later, whilst talking to Cersei about Lyanna, he says this horrible truth.
You want to know the horrible truth? I can't even remember what she looked like. I only know she was the one thing I ever wanted. Someone took her away from me. And 7 kingdoms couldn't fill the hole she left behind.
How heartbreaking is that? The war consumed Robert's life. The trauma of the death and violence is etched into his mind so vividly, and yet the reason he went to war in the first place, the person he was fighting for, he can't even remember what she looks like. A true tragedy. This is all for this video, guys. This was my first dive into Game of Thrones, so if you enjoyed it, do let me know if there are any other scenes from this show that you'd like me to do a video on. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!